$44.8 billion for mayonnaise and paprika. This McCormick and Unilever rumor is the wildest pitch I have seen all year.
Tried delusional. A mid-2027 close? You honestly think regulators will let one company monopolize the entire condiment aisle?
Oh, come on. Antitrust lawyers have bigger fish to fry than ketchup.
We will see what the FTC thinks of your ketchup theory. But while everyone is staring at the grocery store, private equity just quietly dropped $6 billion on wealth management. The rundown.
$47 billion in 3 months. That is just absurd.
19 deals, Nate. The biopharma buying spree is officially a feeding frenzy. Merck just tossed another $6.74 billion on the pile this morning for Terns Pharmaceuticals.
The appetite is completely insatiable. But look across the map at Asia, and it is a total ghost town. Severe deal drought.
Samuel PwC is sitting at the top of the South Korean league tables, basically twiddling their thumbs. Though Legrand did just sneak into China to buy Keydak.
Right, dual acquisitions for Legrand. They grabbed Keydak for rack manufacturing and TES in Europe for power.
I actually love that strategy. Everyone is fighting over AI chips, and Legrand is quietly buying the literal metal racks and power cords that hold the servers together. It's a brilliantly boring infrastructure play.
Very smart. Speaking of quiet and smart, Bank of Hope is picking up the commercial banking unit of SMBC Manubank, all cash, completely accretive.
Oh, come on. You sound exactly like a pitch deck. Completely accretive. Do you have a Midtown fleece vest on right now?
I can't help my upbringing, Maya. The banker instinct takes over.
I prefer deals with actual cultural relevance. Rip City Rising just officially took a majority stake in the Portland Trail Blazers.
Finally, the NBA ownership shuffle continues, but none of these are the giant $44.8 billion elephant in the room, or should I say in the pantry.
The McCormick and Unilever whisper. My phone was blowing up at 4 a.m. about this. McCormick buying Unilever's entire food business.
I don't buy it. I think it's a terrible idea, and regulators will absolutely crush it.
Wait, really? You hate it? Unilever has been desperate to offload food to focus on beauty and personal care. McCormick gets massive global distribution overnight. It makes total sense.
Sure, the corporate synergy looks great on paper, but they are targeting a close by mid-2027. Antitrust is going to put this recipe under a microscope. They will be in court forever.
You are ignoring the obvious divestitures. They'll spin off the overlapping condiment brands to appease regulators. The footprint expansion is worth the headache.
I will bet you a very expensive dinner that timeline slips.
Booked.
But while food giants prep for legal war, private equity is just casually buying up the entire financial sector.
They really are. 2 massive multi-billion-dollar wealth management buyouts just crossed the wire today.
Carlyle and Brookfield are throwing their weight around. Let's look at the numbers on these. The big one. You can't tell me private equity isn't treating wealth management like a massive game of Monopoly right now. Carlyle is dropping over $2.8 billion for MAI Capital. And literally on the exact same day, Brookfield officially closes the Just Group deal for $3.2 billion.
It's a total land grab. Plain and simple. But look at the multiples they're paying. I pulled the filings on the Brookfield deal this morning. They are paying a massive premium for a UK retirement services provider. Just Group is solid, sure, but $3.2 billion? That implies Brookfield thinks they can cross-sell alternative assets to retirees at a completely ridiculous rate.
Which they absolutely will. That's the entire playbook, Maya. You buy the distribution channel, you stuff it with your own high-fee private credit products, and you watch the management fees roll in. It's beautiful.
Beautiful for Brookfield, terrible for the pensioner who suddenly finds their retirement savings tied up in illiquid leveraged loans.
Oh, come on, you're being overly dramatic.
Am I? Read the footnotes? The regulatory environment in the UK around consumer duty is tightening fast. If Brookfield thinks they can just flip Just Group's assets into their own funds without the Financial Conduct Authority breathing down their neck, they're dreaming.
They've got an army of lawyers for a reason. And Carlyle doing the exact same thing stateside with MAI Capital proves the thesis. Wealth management is sticky capital. Once you have those high net worth clients, they never leave.
They leave if the performance tanks.
But they don't. Inertia is the most powerful force in finance. Ask literally any banker.
Spoken like a true former managing director. I guess I just prefer deals where the synergy isn't just charging the exact same people higher fees.
Hey, don't hate the player, hate the fee structure. But if you want a deal with actual tangible products, I've got a $44.8 billion rumor for you.
You mean the spice aisle monopoly?
Yes, the whisper on the street today is McCormick buying Unilever's food business, 44.8 billion. I heard that number and nearly choked on my coffee.
It's completely absurd. Unilever has been trying to figure out what to do with its food division for years, but McCormick absorbing that? That's a python trying to swallow a hippopotamus.
A very delicious hippopotamus. Think about the scale. You get the mayonnaise, the bouillon, the hot sauce. It's a defensive play. Supermarket shelf space is a total war zone right now.
But closing by mid-2027? Have they even met the current antitrust regulators? They are going to put this recipe under a microscope. You can't just corner the global market on flavor and expect regulators to wave it through.
Actually, I think it clears. Unilever's food business is heavily European. McCormick is huge in the US. The geographic overlap isn't as bad as you think.
I'll believe it when I see the break fee. If McCormick is confident, they'll put up a massive reverse termination fee. Until then, it's just banker gossip.
We'll see who is right in about 18 months. But speaking of massive numbers, we need to talk about what's happening in the life sciences sector. 19 deals, $47 billion, and Merck just dropped another $6.74 billion. Voices. $47 billion deployed across 19 deals in just one quarter. The analysts are calling the biopharma appetite insatiable. And honestly, I am right there with them.
Insatiable is a strong word, Nate. You read that quote and see a feeding frenzy. I read it and see a lot of desperate boards trying to plug patent cliffs before 2030.
Desperate or not, the checks are clearing. Look at Merck grabbing Terns Pharmaceuticals for $6.74 billion today. They aren't waiting around for the market to cool.
Sure, pharma is hot, but you can't call the entire global M&A market insatiable right now. Look at Asia. The regional experts are literally calling it a severe deal drought.
A drought? Samil PwC is still putting up massive numbers at the top of the South Korean league tables. Somebody is getting paid over there.
Yeah, Samil is getting paid to restructure debt and spin off deadweight. I actually read the footnotes on those league tables, Nate. It's not growth M&A, it's survival M&A. Huge difference.
Okay, fair point. But if you want pure growth, or at least massive scale, we have to talk about the $44.8 billion elephant in the grocery aisle.
You mean the McCormick and Unilever food business rumor?
It's the biggest whisper on the street right now. Target close is mid-2027. Just think of the synergies, Maya. They are really spicing up the consumer staples space.
Oh, come on. You wrote that down before we started recording.
I absolutely did. It's a great line. But the antitrust lawyers are definitely going to put this recipe under a microscope. Regulators hate market concentration in the grocery store.
They really do. Honestly, if regulators block the spice merger, maybe McCormick should just pivot to wealth management.
Now there's a pivot?
I'm serious. Private equity is buying up financial advisors right now like it's a going out of business sale.
Which brings us perfectly to Carlyle and Brookfield throwing around billions in the retirement space today. Spill the tea.
I refuse to believe anyone looked at a jar of mayonnaise and thought, yes, this needs more garlic powder.
Maya, it is a brilliant defensive play.
It is $44.8 billion of pure antitrust bait. McCormick buying Unilever's food business. Regulators are going to have an absolute field day with this recipe.
Look at the shelf space. You control the spices, you control the condiments, you control the entire grocery aisle. It is classic consolidation. Plus, they are targeting a mid-2027 close. They have plenty of time to grease the wheels.
Grease the wheels? They are going to need an industrial vat of Hellmann's for that. The FTC is not going to let one megacorp monopolize the entire American sandwich.
I think you are completely underestimating the cross-selling synergies here.
And I think you are sounding exactly like a banker trying to justify a massive advisory fee on a $45 billion pipe dream.
Okay, guilty. I would love to be in that pitch room. But seriously, Unilever has been trying to figure out what to do with its food division for years. Selling it to McCormick is actually a really clean exit.
Clean? Have you ever looked at a Unilever carve-out? Their supply chain is tangled across 100 different countries. McCormick is biting off way more than it can chew.
Nice pun. But I genuinely think this happens. The consumer goods space is desperate for a shakeup right now.
I will bet you a lifetime supply of Old Bay that this deal gets blocked before 2027.
Make it the spicy Old Bay and you have a deal.
Done. Now, speaking of people with way too much money making aggressive grabs, what is happening in the financial sector today is actually real, not just a rumor.
Oh, you mean private equity suddenly deciding they want to own your entire retirement account? Tomorrow's radar.
I'm refreshing the SEC portal tomorrow morning just to see if Churchill Capital finally drops that amended filing for the Plus Automation SPAC.
You're literally the only person in New York setting an alarm for a SPAC amendment. I'm watching European life insurance. Chesnara is supposedly hunting for a Scottish widow's deal by year end.
Wake me up when they actually sign something. I care about real cash moving. Like Merck throwing $6.74 billion at Terns Pharmaceuticals.
Oh, come on. $47 billion deployed in biopharma this quarter alone, and you think one Merck deal is the interesting part? The real gossip tomorrow is in the grocery aisle.
You mean the McCormick and Unilever whisper?
$44.8 billion for Unilever's food business? Can you imagine the antitrust headache?
Regulators are going to tear that recipe apart. They'll demand market share data on every bottle of paprika in North America.
I'd hate to be the junior banker modeling the global vanilla supply chain tonight.
Better them than us. We'll see what actually hits the wire tomorrow.